Hey everybody, it's Golmadex and welcome back to another run of the Final Fantasy Play Booster Arena Direct. This is going to be best of one Final Fantasy sealed. We're opening 6 booster packs and hoping to open some sweet stuff because we need to get 6 or 7 wins in best of one games before we hit only 2 losses to get kicked out. So some high stakes stuff, some high variance stuff, some high risk stuff, but also high reward, being able to win some physical Final Fantasy cards. Excited to hop back into it and see if I can't win any more boxes. So let's just bust open these packs and see what we get to play with today. Okay, the bare minimum possible amount of rares here. We got 6 rares total out of 6 play boosters, which isn't the most common. Play boosters can have up to like 3 rares apiece. So 6 is definitely disappointing. Also, a few of these are pretty bad. Louisoix's Sacrifice is like a 3 mana narrow counterspell. Pretty bad. The Water Crystal also not the greatest. You need to have a bunch of cards in your hand to try to do the milling thing in the late game, and it's so much mana to get it going that is not going to be good in a relatively aggressive 1v1 format like Draft and Sealed that are so creature-centric. The Ishgard is fine if we end up in white, because it gives our land some flexibility if we draw it when we're flooded out, but it's certainly not exciting. Balthier and Fran almost never do anything. They are a 3 mana 4/3 reach, so if we're already playing red and green, we might as well play them, but the vehicle bonuses don't tend to work, even in draft, where you can try to draft vehicles highly, but especially in sealed. I think I've opened a maximum of 1 vehicle every time I've ever opened Balthier and Fran, so there's certainly not a reason to play green and red, which leaves us with 2 actually decent rares, neither of which are incredible. Absolute Virtue is going to win you the game if your opponent doesn't have removal for it. The problem is that you have to make it all the way to 8 mana to get it on the board in the first place, so you could lose some games before you make it to 8 mana. And the other issue, of course, being you could spend 8 mana on this, and then they just spend 3 mana on an overkill, and you've accomplished nothing. So you do need your opponent to be out of removal for this card. So it is definitely still, I think, our best rare by a tiny bit. Ultima, second best. 5 mana, just full on board wipe. If you have this in your hand, you can go ahead and play around it a little bit. Make sure you don't overcommit to the board and try to get your opponent in a position where they want to keep putting more pressure on you. And hopefully you can get this to be advantageous to you, where you're blowing up maybe like 3 of their creatures and only 1 of your own. So yeah, Ultima and Absolute Virtue are fine. What I like about this, the rares here, is that they do work really well together. Ultima and Virtue could go into the same deck. This is a good card for lengthening the game and making it easier to make it to 8 mana spells like Virtue, but not very exciting rares overall. Let's see what our colorless, well, what our commons and uncommons have here, but starting with colorless, we have a Blitzball and World Map for fixing. I'm also kind of a big fan of Monk's Fist. It really doesn't look like much, but I do end up putting it in more decks than not. I think it just does enough at a pretty pivotal mana cost, especially in sealed. You don't tend to have a ton of 2 mana creatures get opened too often, so I do like Monk's Fist. It's got a lot of little different areas where it can synergize in the set. There's a bunch of cards that care about casting non-creature spells, cards that care about artifacts on board, cards that care about equipment on board. All that kind of stuff plays well with the Fist, so I do want to give that a little shout out here. It'll probably end up in the deck. But Blitzball and World Map are the fixing. For duels, we have green, white, blue, black, white, black, and blue, white. So 4 dual lands total. 2 different green, black uncommons. And honestly, Cloud of Darkness is just as strong as our best rares. 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer that's also a removal spell when it hits the board, clearing out a smaller creature on your opponent's board in the early game, and sometimes in the late game with the amount of self-mill that there is between green and black in this set, you can kill pretty much anything if you play this in the late game. So Cloud of Darkness plays really well, as does the X-Death in Golgari decks. This one a little less good than the Cloud of Darkness, because the best case scenario on this is just a really efficient big trampler, so it's not a 2-for-1 in the best case scenario, but it's still really big for the cost in that position. So that's pretty nice. I like those Golgari cards. The only other multicolored stuff is 1 Renoa, solid green-white card, and one black waltz, an OK Rakdos card, OK black-red card. So time to take a peek at all of our colors, starting with our white. Lots of creatures here. Not a lot of interaction. There's one Primal Gruta to blow up a tapped card and one Ultima for the board wipe. But if we pair this with a color with a bunch of good removal, it has decent creatures at various spots on the curve, which is fine. Although Weapons Vendor's not that decent without equipment, and there are no equipment out of white, which is kind of awkward. Rescue Mission's not great either without some synergistic cards that really care about getting a wide board state. I guess it's okay with the Graha giving us a bunch of expendable tokens to chump attack with and draw cards off of, or chump block with and draw cards, so maybe. But ideally, a secondary color that cares about going wide could make the rescue missions viable. This cat thing's not the greatest either. Castle Guard without synergy, not the greatest. White is a weird color for us here. It doesn't have any built-in self-synergistic stuff, really. Like, Graha is fine with rescue missions and castle guards, but all of these are towards, like, some kind of go wide, play a bunch of creatures deck, but, like, without the big payoff for that kind of strategy. So, it does depend on the secondary colors. If we have a bunch of black sacrifice stuff, that's a good spot for all of these cards as well. So there is that. And I should say there is more removal than I said. It's not just our board wipe and our Garuda. Battle menu that can kill a big creature, but it's not the most flexible removal, only killing something really big. It's flexible in a different way, where if you don't hit your 2-drop creature, you get to curve out with it, which is still nice. I do like the card a lot. But don't like the removal overall in our white. Double Quistis out of blue. I love me a Quistis. Flashback a removal spell from either player's graveyard. Sometimes you flashback something else as well, like a big card draw spell. Depends on the way the game's going. We've got a Sahagin as well as some decent ways to trigger them. Actually, 2 of them. Dreams of Laguna, Eject, and Side Quest are all good mana value 4 or greater non-creature spells. Don't think we'll play the Water Crystal or Louisoix's Sacrifice. The rest of the creatures, you know, some mediocre filler for sure with the Nullis and the Merchants, the Flan, but blue looks pretty alright here. Black, we have Sephiroth's Intervention, incredible removal. Vane's Treachery, very efficient removal. Circle Powers, great card draw. The animas are a little sketchy without some life gain or a really good curve to where we know we're not going to be under much life total pressure by the time that we drop these, but they can still play pretty well. I don't mind the look of black-white here. That Salvagers plays well with all of our stuff that gives us a wide board state. So does our Vane's Treachery. And by having just a really high creature count here, that helps us be a little bit more defended in the early game to hopefully not be under much life total pressure by the time we cast an Animus. That's a little interesting to me. Black looks pretty okay. I mean, considering the quality and the quantity of rares that we opened up in this sealed pool, I doubt we're going to see any colors that look like really good. So the ones that look like pretty decent are likely to be the colors we'll have to go with, which is so far like white. I mean, mainly just black has the best because of that great interaction, but white also looks, you know, average. So just pair an average color with a pretty decent color instead of what you usually want to do in sealed, which is pair 2 pretty great colors together. I just don't think the sealed pool is going to have 2 pretty great colors. Katana in red is really nice. Sabotenders are fine filler. There's no removal here in red. Self-destruct sort of counts, but you have to sack your card to use it, unless you are playing with a bunch of high toughness creatures or a bunch of sagas that sacrifice themselves anyway. Those are the best ways to get around that. But we're not doing either of those things with our red. Yeah, I mean, there's a Samurai's Katana. That's quite exciting. Some, you know, solid filler like Freya, Gigas, Blazing Bomb. Maybe you could count Sabotenders as solid, but then some really bad filler. There's really no reason to play red. And then green. Fenrir's very good. Scout's pretty mediocre. Toad also pretty mediocre. The Final Act. The Search. Limit Break's just a collection of mid creatures. There's not even anything to ramp into off the Fenrir. I just don't see any draw to playing green here other than just having a curve of creatures. Another look at the colorless. A little bit of fixing here and a Monk's Fist. So there's that. And black was my favorite color. If we go blue-white, we get to play Absolute Virtue and Ultima. But if I go green, white, black, we get to play Cloud of Darkness. That's a huge deal. And Renoa and Ultima. Feels like a better spot to be. What's our mana fixing look like again in terms of dual lands? There's a blue-white duel. There is a black-white and a green-white duel. Very, very helpful to be able to get this Cloud of Darkness, all of our black removal spells in there, and our Ultima. Another look at things. The Fenrir also helping with fixing. Unfortunately, that's the only piece of green fixing. Treasure Producer in black. 2 dire rats that make a treasure when they die. So despite needing double white for Ultima, it might still be black at the core, green and black at the core, because green and black both have fixing. Black giving us 3 different ways to get a treasure, and green giving us 1 way to tutor for a white source. And then I can easily splash in cards like Renoa, Garuda, and the battle menu. And then in the very late game, potentially play an Ultima as well. Could definitely see that. Before I dive in head first here and lock in on that green, white, black deck, I will make sure I've checked the blue, white build, but I don't think that'll be better. Unless I go white, black, and blue. I don't see us not playing black in this sealed pool, honestly. There's no red removal. There's 1 airship crash in green. There's like 1 stuck in Summoner Sanctum in blue. 1 battle menu, 1 Garuda in white. I think we need black. In almost anything we play here. Double Quistis does go really hard if our opponent has a good amount of removal for us to recast. And we've got enough playables in blue and white alone here. How many legends is this? No, it doesn't say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably play Blitzball. It also ramps to the 8. I mean, this is certainly a playable deck. It's really just lower on interaction. Cut 6 cards out of here. I think with the 8-drop Virtue, we have to play the Island Cycler too. And the Blitzball. I think these are all the definite cards that stick in here no matter what. Then we move back in. Double Sahagin ups the value of these rescue missions. 6 cards getting cut. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 over here. So we put 4 cards back in from here. I'm on 0 equipment right now if we cut the mediocre 2-drop equipment. We are running the Blitzball even if I don't splash black. And the Quistis also go way up in value when we're splashing black and have access to Treachery and Sephiroth's Intervention. I feel like the last 4 cards might be black spells here. A town map and 3 black spells. The merchants do some digging as well. Draw and discard to help fix mana around, plus the 4 toughness to slow down the game. I think it's Esper, Grind, or Obzon Grind, either way. 3-color nonsense here. There's the intervention and the double dual land towards black. And this color pair is nice. That's a pretty simple black splash. A Blitzball, 2 dual lands, and a world map. It's very legitimate. 17 lands and a world map right now. But I do have 8 drops, and Quistis can often be like 6 or 7 mana, because there's a lot of good like 4 mana instants and sorceries to recast like 7 mana for Quistis too. Yeah, I don't mind 17.5 lands, 18 lands here. Just drop 2 of these merchants, maybe. Still kind of a big Primal Garuda hater. It's narrow, but this deck is slow. This is the kind of deck where Garuda should have targets more often than not, because if our opponents have creatures, they can attack with them relatively freely. We do not have a lot of early blockers. We just have early removal for the stuff that really matters. Leave the smaller stuff around and then pick it off with something like Garuda. I think it's just drop 2 merchants here. Garuda also does work with the Ishgard. Give that a little bit more to do. It's interesting. I mean, this looks viable. Far from perfect, and it can get definitely overrun by good aggro. Hopefully has enough interaction to not die against most bomb rares. You know, anything but the mega bombs like Arden or Knights of the Round that just like kill you immediately, no matter what. Like this deck can deal with your opponent resolving like a Sin or a Dion or something. It's not happy about it, but it could deal with it. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely one way to go. I'll save the deck there so I won't have to rebuild that. I will need to edit the mana base though, because I did not mandatorily do that, or manually do that. So go the other way here. Green, white, black. Probably not Tomberry. I don't think we'll be aggressive here. Oops, and then I put it right back in. Play some Phaidons for the late game. Yeah, our green's really not that good, but we have to be deep in it to be on double green for the Cloud. The Fenrir's pretty great. Bard's Bow does play well in sealed. 3/3 reach early, that re-equip in the late game can be valuable. Airship Crash, perfectly main deckable and sealed. We do gain access to a Renoa, which is actually pretty legit. So there's that too. X Death as well, some early life gain. So way better mana curve in terms of actually playing to the board here. If I end up wanting to play 2 lands that are only white mana, I might still have to play double Plains instead of Plains Ishgard. If I'm only playing 1 source that's only white mana, it has to just be Plains. The reason is Summon Fenrir can pick up just basic lands, and World Map, if I want to use this for 1 mana instead of 3, can also only pick up basic lands. So I need at least 1 basic white source, ideally. So if I only want 1 source that's only white mana, I need that to be a Plains. And then if I want 2 sources that are white mana only, I still might want them to both be Plains, just in case a Plains gets milled somehow, because then it would be gone forever. Although that's usually something you have to keep in mind, because there are cards like Shinra Reinforcements and the 2 mana 1/1 that mills 4 and picks up a land from your grave. There are some incidental self-mill cards like that, and Resentful Revelation looks at the top 3, puts 1 in hand, mills the rest. I don't think this sealed pool actually has any incidental self-mill. So I think we actually might be able to do that. I mean, it's got Edens, but we can't run colorless lands in 3-color builds. But do I genuinely have no Surveil or Mill here? I guess I've got one Namazu trader that surveils. But no, this deck actually doesn't ever accidentally mill a plains. Unless our opponent does it to us. So I guess we can play Ishgard if we're going for two natural white sources. This is 30 cards right now. 3 of them are lands. If you count world map, 4 of them are lands, which is 26 non-land cards. We cut at least 3 to be at 23 non-lands and 17 lands. This side quest is actually just really bad here. There's no combination of cards that we could draw into to have 4 birds on the board, so this is literally just a worse version of the greens. It's just a greens that can't flashback. So that's an instant cut, playing greens over that. I do like Fight On as a good draw in the late game. It's pretty awkward in the opening hand, though. Not something you want early. So I don't want to load up on too many copies. 2 might be fine, but I think it's a pretty easy cut. Just go for a 1 of. You know what we could do here? Our best blue card is an 8 mana spell that only needs a single blue mana. Okay, that's not true. These Quistuses are probably better. Could splash into blue. I could go really bold and try to splash into blue and white. I don't feel I have quite enough fixing for that, but the dual lands slot in nicely. The dual lands themselves help a lot. Or I could just splash into only blue and not really white anymore. Get the Quistuses and the eject and stuff. I feel like 2 Quistuses and an Absolute Virtue are just really good to have at the very top of our curve. And they all only need a single blue mana. We have 2 dual lands towards them. It's way easier than the double white that's needed. The Virtue does need a white and a blue, so this is towards if we were splashing white and splashing blue. We can do this. Or we could do like only splash blue, play the Quistuses, drop all the white stuff. And maybe like splash a card collection or something, or an eject as well as decent cards. I kind of like the double splash here. Because I only make my mana base like 1 land worse, right? I'm running this over a plains and I'm running this over a swamp, and I'm already at 2 natural blue sources with the 2 ways to find a mana of any color. I do have to run a single island, so I do make my mana base 1 land worse by having a basic island in this deck, but by having that basic island, I'm unlocking Fenrir and World Map as ways to fix that mana. World Map could still fix for blue even if you don't have an island, but it does it really inefficiently for non-basic lands. 4 mana total, 3 for the sack, 1 for the play initially. I'm just gonna go big on this one. Bold on this one. Again, these are the kind of cards that are going to be stuck in our hand until we have a million mana anyway. So it's okay if we don't hit the blue source till very, very late on average. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lands right now. 33 minus 6 is 26. 27. I'm bad at math. So that's still 4 more cards to cut. 1, 2, 3, 4. The deck did just get slower and more dirty by playing a bunch of off-color, very high mana value cards. So that makes me less convinced that I will have a really stable position for Animas. And then the other thing about the Animas is that the best thing that they're really doing is trying to get us ahead in card advantage. The cards that we've just added in the double Quistis do a really good job at that as well, being good 2-for-1s. We have a Blitzball for a late game draw 2, a Fight On for a really good draw 2, a Circle of Power for a good draw 2. Fenrir puts us up a card if if the sack trigger draws us a card. Or if it trades off in anything. Cloud of Darkness is a 2-for-1 as well. Not sure I need the Animus. I could still play like one of them, I think. But this build makes a lot of sense to me. Treasure tokens and a dream. These 3 cards. Never cutting the treasures in this deck. Now we get Sephiroth's Intervention, Vayne's Treachery, Battle Menu, Airship Crash, 2 Quistis and an Ultima, and a Cloud of Darkness. Feels solidly interactive. Technically not playing all of the interaction that I could be playing. There are 2 cards on the sidelines here. I guess Eject is interaction, but it's not full-on removal. There's 2 full-on removal spells I'm not playing, which is Primal Garuda that only kills tapped cards that have 4 or less toughness, and Stuck in Summoner Sanctum that doesn't stop any abilities, and your opponents can use bounce spells or sacrifice to still get value out of those creatures. So our 2 weakest removal spells are still on the sideline here. It's almost all the removal in the whole sealed pool. Again, I don't love this because I just don't love the sealed pool in general. There's no like really good, really efficient bombs or anything, but out of what we have today, out of the cards we opened today, I think this looks like it could do some stuff with some decent draws. Another peek through everything else, but looks like we're gonna go splashing today. All right, let's work this mana base. We have essentially 6 lands right now. So we need 11 more minimum. That's what we're going to do here. Let's get 11 more. And get our colors sorted. I need at least 1 basic of everything. Which is a little awkward because that's a ton of white. I think that means I have to cut Ishgard. Yeah, I don't really want to run 5 white sources. I just want to have 1 white land and a treasure token or a blitzball. If we're ever trying to Ultima. Honestly, Ultima might even be a cut, but I'm still going to go for it. Try to high roll that. I need 1 island. And then we check the green and the blue. Or the green and the black, sorry. 1 green, 2 black right now. I have room for 10 more lands. 10-9 splits on black and green. It's 50-50 basically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 black. That's even numbers of green and black. The 6-6 split of our main 2 colors, though. That is pretty low. I have 2 Questus and 1 Absolute Virtue for the blue splashes. That's, again, basically a minimum of a 5 mana play at the earliest, but most often like a 7 mana play and then an 8 mana play. I can't go 6-6 on my main colors, so I'm just going to make it so Fenrir can't hit blue at that point. Yeah, no Fenrir blue. Go 7-6. I need to hit double green, but I never need to hit double black. I also have a green spell that can find black mana. But my black spells that find green mana do it less consistently. Because it's when they die, or once I have 4 mana total. And again, I need double green on Cloud of Darkness. Oh, this is 8 green sources. I miscounted somewhere. So this is an 8-6 split. So I could go 7-7 split. A little difficult for Cloud of Darkness. Well, that's the only double green card in the deck. Okay, 7/7 it is. All right. Sealed pool here that lacks a bit in card quality, so we have to dance around, play a bit of an inconsistent mana base to up the power level of this deck and try to compete with better sealed pools. Seems like one of the better ways that we can try our best to scrap with this one. So we'll call it a deck here, hop into the gameplay, and see how this does. One treasure token towards Ultima. It's probably the game plan here on a slower hand like this. It has 3 of our 4 colors. An Ultima to try to recover from an early aggressive start from our opponent. I think we have to keep that. Circle of Power for some card draw, looking for that second white. Oh, there it is. Off Insomnia here. Our opponent also splashing around. They're green, white, and black, and no plays by turn 3. Alright. This is a little sketchy. Means our Ultima's not going to go as ham. And it means they're a similar deck that's splashing around and trying to play all of their strongest cards in the sealed pool. And I think our matchup against those similar decks could be awkward. We've got a lot of interaction as our best bet in those matchups, but when it comes to the card quality, when it comes to the strongest cards in our sealed pool, I think we'll be outclassed by other decks trying to play their strongest cards in their sealed pool, because theirs are probably on average a little bit stronger than like 1 Absolute Virtue and 1 board wipe. Because there are a lot of good rares in this set that are bombs that come with 2 different threats on 1 card, to where even if they're killed immediately, they have a massive impact on the game, like Dion and Arden and even Genova to an extent. Stuff like that. Just anything with like a really good enter effect. So Ignis ramp here, very good for our opponent. Jamming here. Circle of Power as well. Jamming and drawing cards, playing tap lands, chilling. This treasure token will die whenever we cast Ultima, so I don't think it'd be crazy to sacrifice it here to Surveil, but I think we should keep it for maybe an early Absolute Virtue instead. We just need to be okay with sacrificing the treasure, since it will die to a wipe at some point anyway. I want to keep it around forever. There's the Town Greeter I forgot the name of. To draw land. Pick up a blue source, play it. Really is the mirror match. It's all the same colors on each side of the table. Vane's Treachery is the draw. It's not horrendous. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 man. I'm on 7 out of 8 for Absolute Virtue here. I'm still in a position that I'm enough ahead on board here. I really don't need to board wipe. But I'm not sure I really want to commit more to this board right now. Yeah, more things dying to Ultima just makes Cloud of Darkness bigger too. Yeah, I'll go for the Bard's Bow here and hope Treachery's enough to kill whatever their next creature is, and then we get a big swing next turn. They might have a Syncopate for 3. But I could afford that so they couldn't cast it there. You eject. I can stop them from drawing a card by sacking this to a Treachery, which obviously I don't need to sack it to kill Ignis, but just sacking it makes it so they don't have a legal target anymore and they don't draw a card. It doesn't counter the eject, it fizzles it, it's a different thing. I don't think that's worth it though. think, especially in Sealed, where everybody has opened a minimum of 6 rares when they're playing a 4-color deck like this, can't really expend removal here just to stop them from drawing 1 card mainly. Do we just both have an Ultima in hand? It'd be embarrassing. Really don't want a Virtue against 6 cards in hand here. Play the Gubu Gardener, 5 extra mana. I can equip Bow and play Gubu Gardener if I crack the treasure. And I think it's okay to crack the treasure, because even if I crack it next turn, I can go land Virtue at this point. So... Go, little mage, go. Jump block. Okay. You can have a 1/3 in the board wipe if you have a board wipe. Very little reason to keep that for a post-board wipe world. The biggest argument to not play Gardener would just be to hold up Treachery. Well, that's exactly the problem we were talking about. That 1 mythic rare is worth more than all 6 of our rares combined. Where we lose these matchups. Somehow only drew them 2 cards? I saw a land there. I think they just did that wrong. They could have... I saw Xanarkand, the rare land that lets them make a 1/1. You draw one of every single card types. They could have drawn enchantment, instant, land. They just really didn't want to discard the hand size? I don't know if I agree with that. I need to put a permanent engrave, so I have to sacrifice the Gardener here, not the Wizard. And then finish that off, so they can't Ice Magic it and draw more cards. They are heavy into black. I don't mind holding a land so that if they play something that makes me discard one, I get to discard this forest. This is the 8th land for Virtue, though. Suppose if they make me discard, I discard Dire Rat. Traxa plus Ultima, might as well. And they have the removal in hand for Virtue, so we can't play that here. They have multiple removal spells for it, in fact. That's the one sealed for you, baby. Instant creature, enchantment, artifact, sorcery, draw 5. But again, they seem very opposed to discarding the hand size, so they're probably just drawing 2 here and playing one of them. I guess I need to intervention right now before they put counterspell in their hand. Yeah, that was technically a punt. But there's no universe we're beating the double Atraxa here, so I don't think it really matters. Now they can't counter Ultima. Oh, you'd Ice Magic it and triple it. Well, yeah, no, it's not even a punt because they already had an Ice Magic in hand. For anything I use. Alright. Okay, I guess if their plan is recast Atraxa like 4 times, I now understand the only drawing like 1 or 2 per Atraxa. Because their deck has just infinite ways to spam this thing. Now they have a counterspell and magic damper up. Maybe they'll punt and attempt to counter Absolute Virtue. But if they just let it resolve and then side quest it, then they win. I can't Ultima because they can just counter the Ultima. Yep. And that's best of 1 sealed for you. Get triple Atraxid. We're 0-1 heading to game 2. Here we are for game 2. Relatively similar hand in terms of the plan. Hope they're somewhat aggressive and then Ultima them and try to flip the end game with Quistuses. They are blue, white, and black. There's a Planisphere. Both of those die to Ultima. I do need to draw another white source. But we have all of our colors, so anything that costs 4 or less is castable. Next turn, anything that costs 5 or less will be castable. Perfect. That's the treasure token I need. And a big enough creature that it could pull removal from my opponent's hand here. Which would be perfect. If they spend a removal spell on my creature that's about to get board wiped away anyway, that will be advantageous. It looks like a no. Maybe they'll combat trick. Treachery. None of that. Just play a Sid. Dire Rat. Ultima ends the turn when I cast it, so I won't get any treasures off Dire Rat. Post Ultima. I feel like I'm supposed to just Ultima right now. I'm already killing Rufus, Sid, and then both halves of the Planisphere. They have 4 cards left, sure, but if I make it to 8 mana, I can Quistis Ultima anyway. Land first, because we're ending the turn. Quistis does not care about color requirements. That is a really good post-board wipe card. Wish I had 1 more permanent engrave for this Cloud of Darkness, but I don't even have the 2nd green regardless. But Ash draws you a card every attack. So that helps them refuel. No combat trick, no combat trick, no combat trick. Go, Rat, go. Oh, they missed. No artifact in the top 5. Beautiful. Thank you, Undercity Dire Rats. Very cool. Wyvern. World map into white. Well, I don't need white anymore. I've hit my only double white card. Oh, Ultima exiles itself. That would have been good to remember with the double Quistis keep. This hand was maybe not so much of a keep. Okay, so I have to Cloud of Darkness the flyer and then hope the 3/3 sticks around. Or at least hope they cast an instant or sorcery to kill it. That'd be ideal. So I can keep this treasure if I go world map first. That could be valuable with Quistis. Yeah, Quistis Circle of Power, sure. If I've got double Quistis and I got no action right now, that's pretty real. Rat. Oh, shoot! A rat! Zach Fair? Ah, there's the removal for the flyer. Rip. Oh, there's our blocks. Don't have the mana for the re-equip, but I'll have a 3/3 reach on blocks. No basic swamps. Black looks splashy enough. I don't expect some random heck dies here, so I'm gonna play the tap land. Heck dies is the kind of card you play when it's in your main color. You don't splash in 2 mana. Just value plays like heck dies. Garuda dies next turn anyway. Lance. Oh, that's really bad. Dragoon's Lance is one of the best uncommons in the whole set. As an equipment that it can keep moving around and giving everything flying for the rest of this game. And we're just flooding. There's no instants or sorceries in anybody's grave. Let's just... This is a 1/1 if it dies, so let's just move over and get a 4/4 blocker up here. Since I'm going to move the bow anyway, I might as well go for a little bit of damage. What they can do here is if they chump with a 1/1 and then I move the bow, they do still trade 1/1s off here. It's actually solid for our opponent. No blocks. That is pretty good for me, though. Let's put this on the rat. Because if they have a way to kill our flying blocker or our reach blocker, they will want to do that. So we'll pick the one with a good death trigger. I guess for legend rule purposes I could put it on Quistis, but I'm not even going to cast this Quistis till there's another instant or sorcery in somebody's grave, and we don't know when that's going to happen. I guess it's probably better to put it on Quistis. It's not like the treasure token is that valuable at this point. So just getting around the legend rule for later is probably more relevant in the long run. Yeah, that was probably not the right re-equip there. Lord knows I have enough mana. I might have the mana to play an instant or sorcery I draw off the top and then Quistis and recast it in the same turn, in which case I will be punished for not having lost Quistis here instead of the rat. Ice magic on the rat. Yeah, that would be another reason Bard's Bow could be better on Quistis if they had specifically bounce removal but not removal. Then they really wouldn't want to bounce a Quistis. So now there's an ice magic for this Quistis. 3 mana for that, and 3 mana for that, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can Blizzaga and shuffle somebody back in, but it's creatures only. So it's not even very good. The only thing that matters here is their flying damage. And I can't do anything about the Dragoon's Lance. So the only thing Ice Magic does is make them sack the Zac to put a +1/+1 counter elsewhere if I try to shuffle Zac back in. Or it just bounces a single 1/1. So I only have the mana to equip Bard's Bow to something once this turn. I need it on a good blocker. 3/3 blocker's not quite enough. They could sack, and then 3/2 indestructible on the 3/3. So we just make a 4/4 Quistis, play a Dire Rat, and pass. And then we start going attack with a 4/4, move to the other 4/4 pass, attack with a 4/4, move to the other 4/4 pass, turn over turn. They're drawing straight gas, though. Ice Magic into Fate of the Suncrist, and Fate of the Suncrist can blow up equipment. So I can blow up their Lance now, but we are under a lot of life total pressure even without the Lance at this point. That Black Mage token being terrifying. I'm gonna play an untapped Quistis post this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Yep, I'll have 3 blockers up. Well, 4 if you count the wizard token. That's perfect. Get Quistis to kill Zac here. We don't mind that Quistis died because I was going to play another to Legend rule anyway. Now we Fate that Lance. Hold up the green to play Gardener and then pass. All right. We've got better attackers on board to where we win the race on board, but I'm at 4 life and they have a wizard token. And they top deck a 4/4 now. Ice Magic into Fate of the Suncrist into 4/4. We hit some lands and a Gubu Gardener. And some lands. Well, we don't have attacks anymore. Four for 4 from our opponent. This is so bad. Let's do 2 and a 1/1 here. Instead of 2/2/2s. Their last card in hand is a land. It's very good for us they didn't re-equip Paladin's Arms before this attack. Their last card must be something, I guess. Fenrir's basically just another land at this point. But it does hold them off of attacks for a turn. Because they'll just trade off into something that's going to die anyway if they send in here. But Paladin's Arms is a really, really good one. Because again, they just keep moving it to all the wounds. 5 for 5. White Aura Sight this turn. Unless that was in their hand the whole time. And then Quistis was... Okay, either way, they drew a spell 5 turns in a row. One of those two was being held. It might have been Quistis, and there just wasn't anything good enough in grave. Because I recast their Fate of the Suncrist. I don't know. But they drew way better than us in the top deck war, and that can kick you out of your Arena Direct run. That was a rough one. Obviously, you never want to go 0-2, but you have to open well, you have to draw well, and you have to play well, as Numod always says, in these Arena Direct events, in these competitive events like this. And we accomplished none of that. There were no major punts or misplays that cost us any games or anything, but we opened a pretty rough, not very strong sealed pool, and we played against some much stronger sealed pools with our first opponent just triple Atraxing us, and then in the second game we just did not draw well, our opponent just hitting far more spells than us in the late game top deck war. There's not much to say about it. Some really, really simple games of Magic here. Very predetermined bread and butter stuff. Who draws the best stuff? It is not us, certainly not with this sealed pool. That's going to be an 0-2 run, but it's just one of those things. Just dust off your wounds, get back up, and as the famous saying goes, just hope to have some better luck next time. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube audience send me some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.